Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. Bob and Phil here as always. Guess what's coming for you? The central banks, and they want to control you. If you don't believe that, you probably will by the time we get to the end of this video. So let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
Hey guys, I want to tell you something that we do that really will change the way in which you look at trading and also absolutely help you increase your profitability and how much money you make. It's the Trade Genius newsletter. We put the newsletter out Sunday night through Thursday night, and this really looks at the plumbing of the markets and helps prepare you for the next trading day and help you make money. And we give you a lot of information. We give you market statistics, we give you market levels, we give you the seasonality, what's happening with different sectors of the market, and we will help you identify whether the market's in a bear mode or a bull mode, or whether it's euphoric, whether it's despondent, and it just puts you in a position to be on the right side of the trade. So take advantage of our offer that we have below, and you'll love it. I mean, one trade that you make with this thing can pay for definitely a month, maybe even a year's worth of service. It's that powerful. Use promo code podcast for 15% off the retail price of newsletter. Thanks for listening.
Bob, we're getting some kind of interesting things coming out of central bank land, especially in the last week. Care to elaborate?
Yeah, and it's not what you think. Everybody thinks the bankers are going to control the world, but you have a situation where the governments now have put themselves in such deep debt worldwide is that they're just going to basically absorb the central bankers into their program, or they'll leave them independent, but they'll pretty much tell them what to do. And we're getting that news from the only person here that's not afraid to speak the truth because they don't really care about their people is Christine Lagarde. And she has some pretty wild things to say, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, she went on about how we're undergoing these changes and there's, they have to adapt to what's going on. And she was alluding to things getting really fragmented. So it to me, when we first started looking at this material, jumps out as like, we got to get control back. We got to get our arms around this thing. And I think it also plays into the theory that they don't like crypto because crypto gives people monetary sovereignty. And the last thing that the powers that be want is people having their own monetary sovereignty outside of the system that they control. So that was my takeaway from what I saw kind of on the first shot across the bow from these guys on this topic.
Yeah, look, and I think what they're seeing now is that, I think some of it's misplaced because for some reason, they think that the world's going to truly become multipolar. But, the Five Eyes country, the Anglosphere, reigns supreme. I don't care if you like America or don't like America, you're stuck with America. And, China's a Potemkin village. Russia is size of Texas. Europe is fading fast. The Middle East is only not shooting each other to death because we have the Fifth Fleet sitting right in the middle of the whole thing. But be that as it may, America's losing what I would consider basically unsurpassed hegemony. And Europe is absolutely imploding. And, my view on this, Phil, is that Europe is unable to feed themselves and they're unable to energize themselves. Some of it is by their own design. It's just absolutely insane. And it doesn't need to be that way, but that's what they've done. So they're forcing this issue. I think this is the whole fight with Russia, to create this war footing, if you will, Phil, because they saw what happened in the 1940s, how they could just totally take control of the populations. And in the 1940s, the government could tell you what to spend. You had coupons. This time we're going to get digital coupons.
Yep.
And they're going to tell us how much we can drive, who can fly, where can we go, how to spend our money, where to spend our money, when not to spend our money. And they're going to use a quote unquote some sort of emergency. And I think the pandemic was probably a trial run of how they can get people on board. And I think it's on its way. Look, the biggest problem these people have is velocity, right? So we do have income and wealth inequality in this world. And so when you have people that are super, super, super rich, they only need to spend a small portion of their money to be able to maintain their wealth. And also they don't care if they're only getting 1 or 2%. As long as they're beating inflation, they don't care, Phil. And so the governments will be able to come in and basically say, look, I can't legislate this stuff, so we're going to go ahead and use the central banks as kind of our quiet arm. You're going to see the puppet strings.
Right.
And they're going to be able to say, well, guess what? You're going to have to sell all that land off because poor people need that land. And it'll happen through digital maneuvering and stuff like that. That's how I think, because they have to get velocity up, because it's the only way they're going to be able to deal with this debt is they have to have the velocity flinging this money that creates transactions, that creates taxable, activities and so on and so forth. So that's kind of my view behind it. It's interesting because I think most people have this at 180. They think, the banks are going to be in charge, and really the governments are really coming. And you see it here in the U.S., all this sniping on Powell, right? You hear Martina Booth constantly defending Powell because Yellen and Biden are in the Lagarde camp. They want to control the spending, and they're pissed because he can do things that they can't do because he doesn't need to get things legislated. And I think they're going to try to control the central banks, at least nominally, and then bring this digital currency in, and they basically can have total control from then on.
Yeah, and they just not released, but they just announced this idea of this universal monetary unit, or what they would call UMU, Universal Monetary Unit, UMU. And they're even given it an ANSI character already, which is like a dollar sign, or the Bitcoin B sign. They've assigned it .U, as you can see there in the slide. But like you said, it's a monetary unit that they can control down to what you could buy or not buy if you were part of that system. And like we said last week when we talked about these things, they're going to incentivize people to move over to that, primarily due to the fact that they probably insure your deposits with it, maybe unlimited insurance, but it's a way, it's worthwhile for them to control, have greater control, like you said. And I think you had found, where is it, this slide here?
Yeah.
To conclude, we may be entering a new economic paradigm where markets become a little less free, aka the UMU, but only as a means to an end in which we can ultimately all be free again. Right. This differentiates us from those we are competing with, whose objective, we believe, is authoritarianism as an ends in itself. Well, I don't know who they're talking about, but they sound like they're talking about themselves, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, who gives up power freely, right?
Right.
I mean, look at the stuff we're going through to get rid of the last thing they had control over. So, yeah, what a joke. This is like, oh, yeah. Just come into this lobster trap. Look at this great seafood buffet. Look, there's openings all around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Well, this is it. It's going to be an interesting battle. Where you and I are talking about it like it's just going to happen free and easy. There's events.
Yeah.
There's going to have to be events. And you know what? And they may fail the first couple times too. So, if you don't believe in this to me, you just can keep pushing. There's other ways to end the debt problem too. Literally, Trump can get in there and stamp a $19 trillion coin and force the Fed to pay for it. And I think that may happen, Phil. And maybe that might be the approach they take. They just say, hey, you know what? We're printing this coin and you're going to hold it on your balance sheet forever. Guess what? No debt.
Yeah. And I remember somebody actually asked Powell that, and he kind of just skirted the issue, because as crazy as that sounds, that actually is a viable solution to the problem here. But I think, Bob, we've got an issue, if we look at things kind of the way they run, we've got an issue of out of control debt, not only here in America, but in Europe. And they're looking at a way where it becomes our debt is your problem type of deal. And not so much the citizens of these countries, but I mean like the world, like they want the world to be awash in our debt. And I think just the way things are, China kind of is beholden to the U.S. economy, because without it, they have no power. They just have a big glass jaw in that respect. So I think they see their shot that they can take to implement that strategy. It'll be interesting to see, because like you said, sometimes these things take one or two tries. I mean, look at the central bank in America, right? Andrew Jackson chased them off. And then it finally took them until 1913 with the Central Banking Act that was enacted while everybody was away on holiday in Congress, right? They snuck it in finally. So sometimes these things take a while. Things move much faster in this world now, so I don't think it's going to take 100 years to get what they want done. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they try and the different things that happen on a worldwide scale that get us there. But make no mistake, they're not going to stop trying.
Hey, why do you think they give cannabis away for free, Phil?
Cannabis?
Yeah, everybody's going to be like, whoa, what? Dude.
makes you wonder, right?
Yeah,
sure. Just keep it flowing. Yeah.
Digital man, gnarly,
Yeah. No, it makes you wonder.
I think so. Hey, it's going to be interesting to watch, though, because they're in big trouble. We're going to have, this is financial repression at a whole new level. It's just going to be insane. So, hey, thanks for listening, guys. We have a lot of stuff this week to talk to you about. I mean, we have fractures everywhere. And It's OPEX week. And just real quick too. So today the market tilted to the upside. We expect follow through tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we get new volatility month coming in. Typically Wednesday, Thursday, then reverse some of this action. Friday kind of replays the week in from the beginning of the week. So we're in a lot of chop this week. And as we see going into next week, things might get really interesting. So we're going to kind of prepare you because the economic backdrop's not getting any better.
No, and it's getting tight. Then the credit's getting tight, lending is getting tight, and that almost always guarantees you a lack of growth, and lack of growth ultimately manifests itself in a market that starts turning back down. So like you said, OPEX, it doesn't look good post OPEX, which is Friday. So starting next week as we go into earnings, maybe the pivotal point and we get our turn back down here in the markets. But we'll let price guide us, but that's kind of like what the underlying data is suggesting. So we'll see how it goes at the end of next week as to where this market wants to go for the rest of the month into May.
Yeah, and look, we give you good news and stuff to buy, but then you guys don't listen to us. There's some good buys out there right now too. Maybe we'll bring them up. We just won't put them in the headline.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.
Trade Genius.